Good morning. This is Omar Muhammad, and this is our 36 minutes on anti-Semitism. Today, we are going to talk about anti-Semitism from an Islamic perspective. And our guest today here is Mehdi Boudra from Morocco and the founder of Mimouna Association. Al-Mahdi, welcome on our podcast.
Thank you, Omar, and Ramadan Kareem to you and to all our Muslim friends following us today.
Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself and your work to our audience?
Of course, my name is Mehdi Boudra. I'm the founder and president of Association Mimouna, a Moroccan NGO created in 2007 by a group of young Moroccan Muslims to promote and preserve the Jewish heritage of Morocco. I'm also a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, and I'm interested in interfaith and multiculturalism.
Very important work, Al-Mahdi. Usually I start with this question. I ask this question to all my guest speakers because of the importance of definitions. So what is the definition of anti-Semitism?
You know, there is many definitions that we have about anti-Semitism, among them the IRA definition that we use in Mimouna Association. But my favorite definition is a Moroccan one by His Majesty King Mohammed VI, who sent a message to the participants of a high-level roundtable in 2018 in New York on education and preserving against racism, where he says, like, racism in general, I'm quoting him, racism in general and anti-Semitism in particular are by no means just a way of thinking. Anti-Semitism is the antithesis of freedom of expression. It implies a denial of the other, and it's an admission of failure, inadequacy, and inability to coexist. It implies an anachronism and return to a mysticism past. Then this is the quote by His Majesty King Mohammed VI of Morocco, who is a Muslim ruler, and this is the definition that we are using in Mimouna. But there is many other definitions that we use, like the IRA definition that Mimouna is using in our world.
It's very important, Mehdi, to know that an Islamic country does have its own definition of anti-Semitism, and that there is work being done about this pressing issue. Given that, what's the current state of anti-Semitism in Morocco, and if you also monitor or observe the situation in the rest of the Islamic world?
You know, racism and hate speech have no boundaries. And unfortunately, in the last few years, racism and xenophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism are growing all over the world. And the minorities are the first one impacted by hate speech. And in the Arab world and the Muslim world, anti-Semitism is growing since the creation of the State of Israel. Anti-Semitism was growing in many parts of the Arab world. And of course, after the October War, it's growing fastly. And also in Morocco, we have anti-Semitism. And I think there is no country without anti-Semitism today. Unfortunately, in our region, the MENA region, and with like the conflict that's happening in Israel and Palestine, many people are targeting Jews, but there is countries who are trying to fight it and countries who are encouraging it. In our case in Morocco, I think the role that the civil society is doing, the Jewish community, the government are trying to fight anti-Semitism, who was growing in the last few months since October War. By some politicians, some radical leftist organizations, some Islamist movements in Morocco are trying to target the Jewish community. But I think we are working closely with the Jewish community, with other members of civil society, and with the Moroccan government to fight these people and to say that anti-Semitism have no place in our country. And we should fight for it. You know, in life, nothing is granted. In Morocco, we have a good situation for the Jewish community, but nothing is granted. If we don't fight for it, if we don't fight for the values that we defend, no one will do it for ourselves. Then in Morocco, we should fight internally against hate speech in general, and in particular against antisemitism.
How has the situation changed post October 7th attack?
You know, 3 years ago, Mimouna Association have done a perception survey on the perception of Jews in Morocco. We have been working in 3 cities, the city of Fez, Rabat, Essaouira, with a sample of 1,200 people to see how Muslims are perceiving the Jews. And we were very surprised positively that 84% of our respondents have a positive perception of Jews. I think this was the, we're really happy to have this result. But I think since the October war, it's changing drastically. There is a big change. There is a big gap. Many people are starting to perceive Israel and the Jewish people as a whole as in a negative way, unfortunately.
You work, Mehdi, you work on the preservation of the Jewish heritage. I would also like to mention that in my hometown, Mosul, where I come from, at one moment I realized, and I have said this many times, when I wanted to look at the history of the city after its destruction, I saw everything, but one element of the city was missing, the Jewish history. And I understood that this also is part of the problem itself, is that there was no interest in the Jewish history of the city, which is why I started tracking the Jewish members of the Mosuli Jewish community. And I found many of them and recorded their testimonies for history. You work on the preservation of the Jewish history in Morocco, and this is probably an answer to raising awareness about the Jewish history to reduce anti-Semitism. Can you tell us more about the Mimouna work? What do you do? How do you interact? Do you interact with the Jewish communities? Do you create platforms of communication between different communities? How does it work? We would like to hear more about it.
You know, the MENA region as a whole had a problem and struggle to manage diversity as a whole. Since the independence of our countries, from Iraq to Morocco, the governments wanted to saw in diversity as a threat to national unity. Then they wanted to see us as Muslims and Arabs. Today, things is changing. We are starting to see diversity as an opportunity for our countries to build a better future for our societies. Then Morocco and Iraq have lost a lot when Moroccan Jews, Iraqi Jews have left our countries. Cities like Mosul or cities like Fez in Morocco or Cairo had like a very rich history and presence of Jewish in our countries. Today we are the one who have lost. The communities are living in Morocco, in Iraq, in Egypt, in Syria, have lost this component of our diversity. Then in Mimouna in 2007, when we founded our organization, we find there is a gap between the discourse of the old generation who talk with nostalgia about Moroccan Jews and the young generation who don't know nothing about Moroccan Jews. Before the creation of the State of Israel, we had 300,000 Jews living in Morocco. It was the biggest non-Ashkenazi community in the world, and it was the biggest Jewish community in the Muslim world. 300,000 people living in Morocco. Today we have only 3,000, 1% of this community. Then, of course, we will find a gap between the discourse of the old generation who knew Jews and talk with nostalgia about Jews, and the young generation who don't know the Jews. They never meet with any Jew. The only perception of Judaism that they have is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Then we said, okay, as a group of young Moroccan Muslims, we should be proud of our Islam. We are proud to say we are Muslims by religion. We are ethnically Arab and Amazigh, but we are also Jewish by culture. It's part of our own identity. By defending Judaism in Morocco, we defend who we are as Moroccans. We defend our richness, because in Morocco, probably we are not the richest country in the world economically, but I can say that we are one of the richest countries with our values, with our culture, and this is who we are, and we should be proud of it. Then when we started in 2007, many people didn't understand why a group of young Moroccan Muslims want to create a Jewish organization. We are not a Jewish organization. We are a Moroccan organization who is proud of all its diversity. We are proud of our Jewish heritage. We are proud of our Islamic heritage. We are proud of who we are as Moroccans. And this is very important for us to bring the torch to the young generation. Then since then, Mimouna was created in one campus in Morocco. Now we are present in 4 campuses around Morocco, from Al Akhawi University to Izit in Tangier, to the UM6P in Ben Gdir and Rabat. But also we work with young professionals. We created 3 offices around Morocco, in Fez, Rabat, and Essaouira, to be close to the young Moroccan Muslims, to show them what is our Jewish heritage in Morocco. How can we preserve it? How can we cherish our whole oral history? The young generation, what our grandparents were telling us about Jews, how the young generation is imagining the Jewish community within Morocco today. What is the connection between Morocco and its Jewish diaspora, including in Israel? It's 1 million Moroccan Jews are living all over the world, and 80% of them are living in the state of Israel. This is very important for us to keep this relation with the Moroccans who are all over the world, from Ashdod to Caracas to Miami to Paris to New York to Casablanca. We should keep our relationship with the Moroccans all over the world. Then we are trying to work hardly with our youth and to promote this heritage that we have, who is part of our own heritage in Morocco. I can go in details, but I know that we have only 36 minutes.
I would really love to hear more.
Okay, then in our organization, we are working in many aspects to preserve the Jewish heritage of Morocco. We created Mimouna clubs, student clubs within campuses, who do activities within the campus by promoting and celebrating Jewish holidays within the campus, like the celebration of the Mimouna. We also do events, iftar, interfaith iftars, like we have done like just a few days ago in the city of Marrakesh, with 180 people participating to a kosher interfaith iftar in the synagogue of Marrakesh, Beit El. We had like 120 Moroccan Jews participating and 60 Muslim Moroccans participating to this event. Was kosher, was in a synagogue. People have been praying within the mosque, within the synagogue for the iftar. Then it's really important for us to work on interfaith events. We're also working to create curriculum. We created the Holocaust curriculum. Mimouna have been working since 2011 on educating young Moroccan Muslims on Holocaust, because it's one of the dark chapters of human history. But it's also, I'm sorry, there is some noise. I hope it's not bother. It's,
Your voice is very clear.
Okay, thank you. Then we have been creating a Holocaust curriculum in partnership with the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. This curriculum is created by Muslims, for Muslims, and it's tailored to the context that we have in the Arab world, using metaphors, using wordings and phrase coming from the MENA region. And then this curriculum was created by young Moroccan Muslims toward young other Moroccan Muslims, is telling the history of the Holocaust in Europe, but also in the MENA region, talking about all the aspects of the Holocaust within Europe, but also in the MENA region. When I say in the MENA region, telling the bad side of the story and the positive sides, and also talking about Muslims who saved Jews during the Holocaust. Among them in Morocco, Mohammed V, the king of Morocco, who refused to give Moroccan Jews to the Vichy French government. And he said, I don't have Jews or Muslims, I have only Moroccans. Then it's really important for us to tell those positive stories, because we want to give the hero opportunities for Arabs, to show them that Muslims and Jews are not enemies. Probably we have a conflict now happening in Israel and Palestine, but historically the relation between Muslims and Jews were very positive. Since the Crusade, since the Reconquista to the Holocaust, Muslims and Jews were from the same side. When Jews and Muslims were expelled from Spain, they came to Morocco, they came to the Ottoman Empire, and they were welcomed. When the Holocaust happened, many Muslims saved Jews during the Holocaust. It can be like the Imam of Paris, people from Egypt, people from Tunisia, but also in Morocco, we have the great story of our king, Mohammed V, who saved Jews during the Holocaust.
Very, very important work what you are doing, El Mahdi.
On other aspects that we have, because we have many programs that we are working on them, we have a program called Rebuilding Our Homes. It's funded by USAID. It has been a 3 years program to work with the youth of the Melah, the historic Jewish neighborhoods of Morocco, in the cities of Fez, Rabat, and Essaouira, to work with the youth to preserve their own neighborhood, to show that, to be proud that they are living in a shared space who was between Muslim and Jews, and to revive the Jewish sites there, to also work on preserving the archives, the Jewish archives that we have within those Jewish communities, but also to promote the Jewish heritage in many aspects, through food, with food workshops, kosher food workshops, through language, Hebrew language, teaching Hebrew language to the students, through digital heritage mapping, identifying Jewish sites within those neighborhoods and creating an app that we call My Melah, but also through other programs, soccer, reviving the old Jewish teams that we have in the neighborhood. Then we are trying to work in many aspects to make the youth very happy to participate in our events.
How was the perception of the public to these activities, Mahdi? What type of response did you get? Is there a positive response? Do you have any challenges doing this type of activities?
Yes, we had challenges in the beginning. When we started the organization within the Al-Akhawin University in 2007, it was somehow challenging because people didn't understand why a group of young Moroccan Muslims would create a Jewish organization. They thought, okay, they want to convert other Muslims to Judaism, which is not the case because we are proud to be Muslims. And Judaism is not a religion that is promoting conversions. Then it have nothing. They say, okay, we are fighting BDS movement within campuses. But at that moment, we didn't have this discussion within our campuses. We wanted just to preserve our own identity and to make people proud of our Jewish heritage in Morocco. Then, of course, in the beginning, it was difficult. The majority of the male members were living in Building 36. They called the Melah, the Jewish neighborhood. They put a swastika in a room in Building 36, for example. There is people who try to do that, but this gives us only will and courage to continue our work. And since 2007, the situation have changed completely because I think our work is much easier now than in the beginning. It's a question of time. We're removing the dust from the memories of those young people. You should refresh them to show them that Judaism is part of our own country. That Judaism is not something from the outside, it's from the inside. That Jewish heritage in the MENA region is part of who we are. And if we don't reconcile ourselves with who we are not going to build a better future for our country. Then now the situation is much easier. Of course, when we have war like the Gaza flotilla, I think in 2010, when we had the war in October now, it's challenging times for us. But it's we should create the airbags. The airbag, like a car, an accident, the shocks. The work that we are doing now is the airbag, so we can continue our work and to promote our own heritage in our country.
I understand. I understand how challenging it is to you. But let me ask this question. I mean, it's true that Jews lived peacefully with the Muslims in Muslim countries, but in a way or another, we cannot deny that there is also an Islamic type of anti-Semitism. In the modern times, what are the main factors? I know it's different from the traditional type of anti-Semitism in the past, where everything is based on religious texts, etc., from history. But speaking about the modern, the current, and the contemporary anti-Semitism, what are the main factors that play the role in this anti-Semitism? Also, is it among elderlies? Is it among young generation? What factors are there that lead to this anti-Semitism?
Every country in the MENA region is different. But of course, there is organizations who are promoting anti-Semitism, terrorist organizations like ISIS, the Houthis, but also Islamist movements who are in the like Imam Qutb, like following the philosophy of some people, like trying to promote that. And as I said, racism have no boundaries, and it shocks also our country. There is some Islamist movements who are trying to use the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for their own agenda. It can be, and they use anti-Semitism and targeting a minority just to have another agenda behind it. It's easy to attack minorities. It's easy to target Jews. So probably for electoral elections or for a more long-term agenda to create their own institution and create their own agenda. Today in Morocco, thanks God, we have Emirat al-Mu'minin by His Majesty King Ahmed VI. The king is le commandant des croyants, like the ruler of the believers. When he says the ruler of the believers, it's not only the ruler for the Muslims, but also for the Jews, because they believe in one God. And he's protecting the religious narrative, because it's really important that states not control, but like have the religious narrative in their hands. So radical movements and radical voices don't get on that. Today in Morocco, we have the monarchy institution who is like working closely with other institutions within Morocco, including with the local Jewish community, to promote the living together, to promote the idea of diversity, and to combat hate speech. This is very important. When you have vacuums, countries where you have vacuums like Yemen or Iraq, when you have ISIS and Syria, you have those radical voices who take the lead, and like they use anti-Semitism to attack not only Jews, but to attack us as Muslims who are open to new ideas and open to the world. The first people who are fighting anti-Semitism and the victim of anti-Semitism are Muslims themselves today. If we fight anti-Semitism, we are fighting for ourselves, first of all, because the goal is not Jews, is the idea of living together, of diversity, of promoting the difference. I think this is really important today in our countries, in the MENA region, to work together. We should work in a block. We cannot work. We say one hand cannot clap. We need both hands. We need everyone. It's like a puzzle. Like to have an image, everyone should do its part of the work in the MENA region so we can preserve it and we can build a better future for our region.
Indeed. Besides, you have already mentioned some elements of what the government is doing, but can you speak more about? I believe that in Morocco, probably it's only in Morocco in the Arab Islamic world, the Holocaust education is going to be mandatory, if I am not mistaken, and there will be education on the Holocaust and also on the Jewish history.
In Morocco, since the 90s, Morocco, as I told you, so in promoting the diversity of the country, including the Amazigh heritage, the Jewish heritage, the African heritage, as an opportunity to build a better society for our country. And since the 90s, Morocco have created the Casablanca Jewish Museum in 1997. It had also created other Jewish museum like the Beit Dakira, who is a center for Muslim-Jewish dialogue, who was inaugurated by His Majesty himself a few years ago in the city of Essaouira. It's open, His Majesty inaugurated another synagogue, the Synagogue Tedgi, in Casablanca a few years ago. Now we are opening a few other Jewish museums in Tangier, in Fez, in Marrakesh, and other cities in Morocco. But also, since the Arab Spring, Morocco have changed its constitution. And within the constitution, we say that Morocco is a Muslim country, an Arab Amazigh, but have Jewish influence. It said the Hebraic component. It's within the constitution, we have written that Judaism is part of our own identity, which is really important today. In the last 2 years, Morocco and the Ministry of Education have tried to include the history of Moroccan Jews within the curriculums. And now in the curriculums, we have the history of Moroccan Jews. As civil society in Morocco, we want more. This is our role. As NGOs, we want to have more. Now we want to include the Holocaust education within our curriculum. I think it's a question of time. We have the people within the Ministry of Education listening to our ideas, discussing with us. And I think it's a question of time. In the next year or two, we'll have Holocaust education within our curriculum. I think it's really important. It's a culmination of the work that have been done by many people within Morocco, like Mr. André Azoulay, who is the advisor of His Majesty, have been working for many years in promoting the living together, the convivencia of Morocco, promoting Jewish heritage in Morocco. But other people like Simon Levy, who was the former director of the Casablanca Jewish Museum, have been working in including the Jewish history within our curriculums.
That's really impressive. Do you think your experience can be replicated in other Islamic and Arab countries? How can this
I'm sure. The MENA region have incredible civil society, incredible voices, individuals who are promoting, but they are the silent majority, unfortunately. They are the silent majority. I'm sure we have people who want to do the same work in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Morocco, but the context is difficult for that. In Morocco, we have a context that let us grow and do our activities since 2007. We have been growing thanks to this context that let us work freely, but we are working closely with other NGOs. We have invited many NGOs from Tunisia and Egypt. We have organized an event with an Egyptian NGO called Drop of Milk in Fez. We made an event called Rambam, Maimonides from Fez to Fustat, on the heritage of the philosopher, the Jewish philosopher and the Medsa, and the doctor Maimonides. And we organized the first edition in Fez a few years ago, and we hope to have the second edition in Cairo with them. We are also working with the NGOs from Tunisia that we invited and participated in our events in Morocco. But we also, thanks to the COVID, COVID had many bad things, but it brings us to work virtually and to use Zoom. Then since the COVID, we have organized many events in Zoom. And among the events that we have organized is an event on Jewish heritage in the MENA region. It has been organized in partnership with the American Jewish Committee. And another one was with the American Sephardic Federation, where we invited leaders from the Jewish committees from all over the MENA region, from Emirates, Bahrain, Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco, but also professors and the media actors and the civil society leaders from countries like Kuwait, like Lebanon, like Egypt, like Emirates, like Morocco, to participate in those events.
My experience is quite different, Mehdi. When I started working on preserving the Jewish history of Mosul, some people from my hometown called me agent of Mossad, agent of Israel, and many other things. And also I realized there is something, and I also want to ask you about this, whether you have experienced such situation. To them, when I speak, what I mean by them, like the people, for example, in Mosul and Iraq, they have created a criteria to what they call it a good Jew. So a good Jew, in their perspective, is the one who denounces Israel, is the one who is against Israel, is the one who agrees with all their perspectives, and it's very disheartening to think that sometimes, because also there's a misrepresentation of when we say, yeah, Jews can feel safe in the Arab world. In reality, it's not, because there's a criteria for what which type of a Jewish that can be welcomed back. How can we reduce this? How can we change the perception? How can Muslims work more on understanding, for example, yes, Israel has the right to exist, and what the Israeli government do doesn't mean a Jewish person living in Morocco or in the United States is responsible for that. What can be done more?
First of all, I will respond to you because I want to thank you for your courage on what you have done in Mosul. It's more difficult, it's more challenging, and it needs more courage and no more will. And bravo, of all what you have done in Mosul to talk about the Jewish heritage of Mosul, on talking on preserving the Jewish heritage of Iraq, because Iraq have given Judaism in Iraq is one of the most important Jewish community that have done and give to humanity, not only to Iraq. And the Jews of Iraq have preserved their Iraqi identity as much as they can. Like, they are the ones who speak fluently Arabic. They are the ones who have given a lot to the Arab music, to the Arab culture. And they were like one of the stakeholders of our culture till today. And I think it's really important that you have preserved their legacy. In Morocco, of course, as you said, people want to say the good Jews. The good Jews are the ones who criticize Israel. The good Jews who are the ones who... This is true in radical leftist organization and some Islamist movement. For example, the head of BDS in Morocco is Moroccan Jew. His name is Sion Assidon, Zion. And he's anti-Zionist. And he's one of the most critic for our organization, Mimouna. He attacked us when we organized the first conference on the Holocaust in the Arab world in 2011. He was one of the people who criticized us a lot. And there is other voices who are more centrist, like Simon Levy, who was critical to the state of Israel, but in the same time, he's not like as radical as Simon Assidon, and he tried to defend us with those people. Today, in Morocco, we have an advisor for His Majesty who is Jewish. A former minister of tourism in the 90s was Mr. Serge Berdoub, who is Jewish. He's the head of the Jewish community. In the 60s, we had a Moroccan minister of telecommunication who was Jewish also. Then Judaism is very visible in Morocco. And thanks to the media, the Moroccan TV channels are showing all Jewish festivities in the TV, promoting them, which is different from the context that we will live, for example, in other countries in the MENA region. But I think it's really important today for us as Moroccan youth to be proud of that and to try to bring it to the world, not only within our communities, but also to share that with like other regions, as you said, in the world. I think did I respond to your question, or should I not completely?
No, you did. But what building on your experience, Mehdi, what recommendations do you give not only to other young Muslim Arabs, but also in order to explain anti-Semitism in the Islamic world to non-Islamic audiences? How can we better bridge the gap? Holistically.
I think there is two things very important: education and promoting oral histories. Education is like working to educate young people about the diversity that they have in their own country, to show that Judaism is part of our own countries, for our own cities, not only to be local as possible, to decentralize our history, like to bring it regional. To talk, for example, if we talk about the city of Jerba, we talk about Jewish heritage in Jerba, in the city of Jerba, how Jews have contributed to the history of our city in Jerba in Tunisia, how Jews have contributed in the city of Mosul, how Jews have contributed in Fez. This is really important for us to work tailoring it to the local, regional, and very small scale as possible. So to show to the people that it's part of our own city, of our own neighborhood, it's part of who we are as people. This is really important. Then education is really important by creating curriculum, respect and tailored to our context. But the second pillar is oral history. Oral history is like a individual working very closely with people. For example, a strategy that we have done in Mimouna, when we try to do activities and people don't want to participate in our events, then we have discussion with few young students come to us and tell us, oh, why I don't want to work on Moroccan Jewish heritage. Judaism have nothing to do with Morocco. Then we try to convince them, and if they are not convinced, what we told them, please go and talk with your grandparents about Judaism. Have a discussion with your family, with the people who knew Jews, people who lived with Jews. And after that, let's have another discussion. I can tell you that 90% that people are returning back. The one who spoke with their grandparents, the one who spoke with the old generation, they are coming back. They say, oh, it's true, my grandfather, his best friend was Jewish. Jews are serious. Like, then they start having some kind of discussion, probably on one aspect. It can be food, it can be music, it can be simple things that we live together. And this is really important. You bring oral history, it's really important, and we should preserve it. And we should show it to the rest of the world. Like, we should tell those stories, those small stories that people will tell you, like that he lived with his Jewish neighborhood and they share a meal, that the best singer of his neighborhood was Jewish. Those small stories are very important to preserve and to share with the young generation.
Mehdi, thank you. This was our 36 minutes on anti-Semitism.